What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Edison Club. Today, very special treat. As you know, for the past couple days, I've been bringing you the top 4 deck lists from the 2K Edison 3v3 at Big Boy Gaming in Smithfield, North Carolina. This one right here is going to be my friend Glenn Auman, who is player, I do believe, either player A or player C. And he piloted Gravekeepers. Him and his team managed to take 4th place. So we're going to go over this Gravekeeper deck list right now. And as always, guys, before we get started, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really just motivates me to keep going, keep making content, and getting better at it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this 4th place finishing Gravekeeper list. So starting things off, we have one Caius the Shadow Monarch. Different inclusion here. I guess one of the good conversions that this deck can have is they attack into your spy, you summon another Gravekeeper, you tribute one of them for Caius. So, pretty unexpected. I like it. We have 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Assailant. Becomes very big under Necro Valley, switches battle positions, so pretty cool. 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Commandant, alongside 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Descendant, the man himself. 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Guard. 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Spy, and then we have 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Visionary. Very glad that Glenn chose to include this card in his list. So, if you're not familiar with Gravekeeper's Visionary, he says that you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 Gravekeeper's monster. This card gains 200 attack for each Gravekeeper's monster in your graveyard. If this face-up card would be destroyed, you can discard 1 Gravekeeper's monster instead. So if you're seeing where this is going, you kind of drop this guy in the mid to the late. While you have a couple of these in your graveyard with Necro Valley, he's normally around 3,000, and you're starting to pull stuff back with your 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Stele, however you want to say it, and pretty much you have this walking wall up on the field. It's really difficult to deal with, honestly, especially if you're not on a deck that plays Deep Prison. This guy can be quite pesky to get over with. It really does eat stuff like Black Wings, lets you swing over Black Wings, no fear of Colute, no fear of Mirror Force, no fear of Icarus attack, so very cool. That rounds off the monster count. We're going to go ahead and go into the spells now. We have 1 Allure of Darkness, 2 copies of Book of Moon. Very good here with the 5 flip effects that we have, the 2 Guard and the 3 Spy. 1 copy of Brain Control. This was a card that I was a little shocked to see that Glenn chose to include. Considering you don't really have conversions off of it, like you don't really have tuners, you do technically have tribute summons. So maybe that was just enough for him. Maybe they attack his spy, he summons into something else, they have a problematic card, he just takes their Brain Control, sacks off 2 for Visionary. So obviously worked out for him. Sometimes maybe your opponent leaves up a live tuner and lets you get into your extra deck a little bit more too. So we already went over the 2 copies of Gravekeeper Steel, 1 copy of Heavy Storm, 3 copies of Necro Valley, 2 copies of You Can't Play Yu-Gi-Oh! AKA Royal Tribute, and 3 copies of Upstart Goblin, because we want to be able to see our Necro Valley, we want to be able to see our Gravekeeper Spy, all these things. Going into trap cards, we have 2 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole, 1 copy of Deck Devastation Virus. Very spooky in the main deck here, because pretty much every Gravekeeper that you can summon is going to be 2,000. So we have the 3 Gravekeeper's Descendant, which is going to be 2,000 under Necro Valley, as well as Gravekeeper's Assailant. So very spooky here to see this in the main deck. Wonder if he managed to beat anybody in Game 1 because of this card. 1 copy of Mirror Force, 2 copies of Call the Haunted, aka Rite of Spirit, 1 Solemn Judgment, 1 Starlight Road, and 1 Torrential Tribute rounds off this 40-card main deck. Let's go ahead and go to the side deck. We have 1 DD Warrior Lady, 2 copies of Fossil Dino, 1 Thunder King. That rounds off all the monsters in the side deck. Next, we have 2 copies of Nobleman of Crossout. Seems to me like if I was playing this deck, I probably would have went with Shield Crush over this card, just in case you do encounter a deck like Synchro Cat that also plays Gravekeeper Spy, but maybe he thought that the likelihood of that was pretty low, which in all honesty it is very low. Knock actually is much better than Shield Crush, but you don't ever want to have to hit your own spies out of your deck. But obviously, once again, it worked out for him, so I guess he didn't play against any Synchro Cat. So 2 copies of Prohibition, very good. This card gives you something that you can side in against pretty much anything. It's very good to stick this card in the early game against something like Hero Beat, calling Elemental Hero Neos Alias. Really upsets their game plan from there. And then we have 2 copies of Smashing Ground, 2 copies of Dust Tornado, 2 copies of Light Imprisoning Mirror, and 1 Trap Dust Shoot. We're going to go over this extra deck very quickly here. It's pretty irrelevant. 1 5-headed, 1 Catastor, 1 Ancient Fairy, 1 Arcanite, 1 Black Rose, 1 Armor Master, 1 Brianac, 1 Colossal, 1 Darkin, 1 Flamvel Uraquazas, 1 Goyo, 1 Android, 1 Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 Starhouse Dragon, and 1 Thought Ruler Archfiend. So guys, that rounds off the 4th place finishing Gravekeeper deck list from the 3v3 at Big Boy Gaming this past weekend. Stay tuned as I will be posting his other teammate Carl with his Blackwing list very soon. Alright guys, this is Mike from the Edison Club, signing out until the next one.